Hey, Scott. Hi, Daniel. All right. So, welcome everybody. This is my first time using Ecamm live for this live stream. So, uh, we'll see if it will go off without a hitch. No promises. I think everything looks okay other than okay. Looks okay. So, welcome. Please put your name in the chat if you haven't done so already. And yes, I'm excited about this live. I think it's one of the important ones, especially going into the holiday season. And it's about being your own best friend. Because I think with anything, if you can't be your own best friend, if you can't love yourself, if you can't just give yourself the support you need, and I say it often that you're not going to be able to be there for somebody else. So I thought we would kick off the holiday season with making sure that we're protecting ourselves and we're doing what we need to do to have the best holiday season we can. So, and I do have a couple notes here. So bear with me if I do have to look at them from time to time. And I think one of the things I want to start out with, and we'll go a little bit deeper later on, but just think about on December 31st, what do you want to feel? And I don't mean what do you want to accomplish, what do you want to have done, what do you want to feel? Do you want to feel proud because you stayed within your budget? Do you want to feel just like you've completed, the season, with peace? I guess just what are the feelings? Because I always talk about the feelings. So I know for myself, there's a couple things that I'm doing new this year. So I guess I want to feel accomplished that I was able to complete those. I do want to feel like I stayed within budget. So I want to feel, I guess, secure that I stayed within budget. So just think right now. You can jot it down if you want, but we'll go back to that later. And I just wanted that question thrown out there so you have some time to think about it. But then one of the things I also want to talk about, and I say often that we should not be comparing ourselves to other people's highlight reels, right? We shouldn't be comparing, like even myself, I'm very worried about doing lives, and I shouldn't compare myself to, maybe how somebody else does their live. And I think not even just social media. I actually was watching a Hallmark movie last night. I don't know if anybody who is on watches Hallmark movies, but let me tell you, they're picture perfect, right? We were watching it, and somebody had walked into a coffee shop, and this coffee shop must have had 5 or 6 different, Christmas trees decorated. Everything looked magnificent, but it wasn't real life. And I said that to my husband, I'm like, yeah, this isn't real. So we got to be careful that our minds or our subconscious doesn't look at something like that and think that that is what a perfect Christmas looks like. And, I'll be a little bit honest. I think a lot of times we bring traditions from our childhood into our own families. I don't have a lot of traditions from my childhood, so I have certainly learned what Christmas should be, just, I guess, more in my adult life. So, hey, Granny. Yeah, Hallmark movies. I do love them too, but I was just sort of saying how, they're not necessarily real, and not to compare ourselves to them. So I guess we just need to protect our peace. We need to protect, so that we're not beating ourselves up because our Christmas doesn't look like that. It's not realistic, right? Everybody always wins at the end, and I certainly wish real life was like that. I wish we all won at the end. So, but I guess the most magical thing about maybe even more so over the last, let's say, 10 years, is I think, the presence is what is the most magical. And I don't mean the gifts, I mean, being present, right? Your presence, that you're just there in the moment. Um, and not always thinking about, you know, where you have to go, what you have to do, just trying to be as much as you can in the moment. I think that's the most magical part of Christmas. And it goes by so quickly. Oh my goodness, it goes by so quickly. So, and then the other thing that I would like us to think about this season is we all talk about a to do list. How about a not to do list this year? Seriously, what are some things that you may want to cut out of the season this year? Maybe, you know, you're not going to bake cookies for your neighbors. We actually make a Chex Mix that we give out in our neighborhood, well, to our surrounding neighbors. And I know Granny had talked, I think she had said that she makes a Chex Mix, like a huge, if I remember, it was like a laundry container full of a Chex Mix. I don't make it that big, but we do make a lot. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do that this year. It always sounds good when it's 4, 5, 6 weeks away, when you're making that to-do list for the holidays. But then as it gets closer, sometimes it becomes more of a, I don't know if burden's the right word, but it just becomes more of, it just doesn't feel as good as you thought it would feel. Yes, you're right, escaping the suburbs. Comparing yourself to others definitely steals the joy. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm bumping the mic. I apologize. Um, Hopefully it'll get better. Oh, so I'll be more careful. So again, just think about what you might want on your not to do list this year. And one of the things that I have never been very good at, and I think maybe I have or have not shared, again, growing up, we didn't get a lot of gifts. So when I had a family, I probably went too far the other way. And I realize that now. I've probably realized that over the last decade or so, because I thought, I was trying to give my kids what I felt was missing from my childhood. But the other thing is I'm also very type A. So what I would do is I would start my Christmas shopping in September, October, thinking, okay, I'm going to get ahead of the season. I'm going to have it all done by Thanksgiving. Well, I can't remember one year that I actually had it done prior to Thanksgiving. I should have been done, but I just kept buying things. So now I have learned, I actually make a list and I actually stick with that list. And obviously the kids are older, so now they basically, they get just a couple of things. And if they're married, they get one big thing for them and their spouse. So certainly it's different. And even with my grandchildren now, I won't be going overboard like I used to do. And that is one thing I think that I won't say regret. Regret's a strong word. I just wish I had done it differently because all those gifts just were not needed. So again, maybe make a not to do list. Maybe there'd be some things. Yes, cut back on Christmas cards. Actually, that's a great idea. I have not sent out cards. I have not sent out cards probably in 5 or 6 years. I just felt not that they were a waste of money, not necessarily that. It was, I don't know. I just felt like it became a comparison thing because we would get Christmas cards from different friends or different the kids' friends, and everybody would share all these great big trips they'd go on. It would be almost like a collage Christmas card. And when I felt like it got to be like, look what we did, this, when it felt like it was a comparison, I pulled back and I stopped. And I haven't done it. I haven't done it, like I said, in 5 or 6 years. So, has anybody, so Granny, you've cut out Christmas cards. Has anybody else cut anything out of their holiday season that maybe you used to do all the time, maybe when the kids were younger, do it now? So, and then, so what the theme of this whole live was about is how to be your best friend, right? And basically, what does that mean? And I guess the first thing is think to yourself, I mean, we all have a best friend, right? And how do you treat that person? I would hope that you treat that person with kindness, and that you would, if somebody came to you and said, "Oh my goodness, I didn't sleep last night. I'm just exhausted today, but I have XYZ to do." I'm sure you wouldn't tell your best friend, "Well, suck it up, do it, just get it done, no excuse." So don't tell yourself that. Just think about what you would tell your best friend, and I guess treat yourself the same way. We have a tendency to treat ourselves less than, and I don't, maybe that's a strong word, but I think we need to start treating ourselves the way we would treat, you know, our best friends. And I think that's what this is, and especially during a holiday season. And I'll be honest, this holiday season, I think is probably more hard this year for a lot of people than in years past. At least, I'm hearing about these layoffs. I know what's happening in my own family. So I just think we need to be a little bit gentler and a little bit kinder, and just kind of remember. And I think Granny says this all the time, and she says it perfectly, right? Just be kind to people. It doesn't cost anything. Give somebody a smile. I literally will go out of my way all the time if I'm in a coffee shop or if I'm at the market. It doesn't matter what it is. I just find something about that person who's standing in front of me and compliment them. It is so easy. And I'm telling you, it could go from somebody who barely looks at you and says hi, and you say something to them. It just immediately lifts their spirits. And the other thing with that is, I sort of call it the boomerang effect. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but when you give away kindness or you give away something, 100% of the time it has always come back to me tenfold. And it doesn't, even money, I have always been one to give away money. To me, money is not meant to stand still, it's meant to flow. And it has always come back to me tenfold. But just be kind, right? Just be kind to somebody. It could be at the gas station, it could be at your job, anywhere. Say something kind, say something more than just hello. Or if somebody asks you how you doing today, say more than just okay or good. Just give them an actual dialogue back. I'm telling you, it's amazing what a little bit of kindness can do, and even a smile. If you're out running, when I go out running, I always will wave, or give the peace sign or something, always, anytime I pass somebody. So and I like to call that the boomerang effect. That's what I tell my kids all the time. So not only treat yourself with that kindness, when you come across people throughout the day, do the same thing. And right, that doesn't cost anything, but it certainly makes you feel good, doesn't it? So, ah, yes, yes, Scott, you're right. You have to give yourself permission not to be perfect. And I'll be honest, that is something that I have had to learn through the years. So, and I don't always get it right, but I get better. I get better. So yes, that's another good point. Is allow yourself. You just have to be you, right? I don't know who said it. Somebody said it recently, or maybe it was Rob during one of his lives. He talked about he can't be anybody but himself. Just be yourself, and no matter how that is. So, so if you do catch yourself, or if you do find yourself saying something negative to yourself, even if it's in jest, like, oh, that was so dumb of me. I shouldn't have done that. Just, would you say that to your friend? And if not, just, kind of say stop and kind of reframe it. That's all. We're all worth the kindness to ourselves. And, yeah, yes. Hi, CL. Thank you for joining. So, yeah, if you wouldn't say it to your best friend, then don't say it to you, because you deserve the same kindness as you would give your friend. And then one of the other things, and I know a lot of you do this already, but if not, if you could go take yourself on a 10-minute walk every day, or as many days as you can, and just yourself. And if possible, no phone, which I know could be hard, especially if we're recording on our walks. So maybe you got to go on 2 walks. But just no phone, take yourself, but don't just go out and go the same route you always go. If you can switch it up, great, but if not, look at things, put a different set of glasses on, I guess, and look at the tree that you pass by all the time differently. Look at the leaves on the tree differently. Or maybe your neighbor's house, or maybe the way they decorated their house, on the outside, if they have a wreath or something. Just look at things differently and try to consciously do that. Um, I've said before, when you start looking at things differently, the things that you look at will change, and for the better. But I think it also gets us out of our head if we're doing something like that, right? If we're trying to see, maybe it's the way the sun's shining off the sidewalk, or off, I don't know, off the trees or something. Just look at it differently. Just acknowledge and identify some things that you typically wouldn't identify on your walk. So, oh, hey. Hi, Texas Gypsy. Welcome. And like I said, no phone. And again, try to stay out of your head. Try not to do that mental to-do list. And this is for Lori, probably more than anybody, because I'm constantly, oh, when I get home, I got to go do this, or, oh, before tomorrow, I got to finish this. Oh, yeah, I got to write this down because I got to do that before Friday or something. So if possible, and by looking at things differently, that kind of keeps you out of your head. So what I'm trying to do is have you sort of tune into yourself and kind of meet yourself along the way, if you would. So I guess just be conscious, if you can, of when you go out for a 10-minute walk. And again, it doesn't, and one of the things that I've been trying to do, because I don't go running every day, but I probably go 5 days a week. And I always throw my AirPods in. I'll be honest, I listen to music or or a podcast or something. But I've recently, over the last almost 3 weeks now, I have tried at least a couple days a week to go out running without that. And I'll be honest, it was extremely hard. My brain was struggling. I kept telling myself, this is dumb. I don't need to do this, right? That self talk. But I have slowly been able to actually appreciate it. Running always makes me feel good. So my thought was, well, if I could run without my mind getting lost into the music or a podcast or something, would it be even better? And I love it. I do love it. I haven't gotten to, no music or no podcast yet, but it certainly I'm going to keep trying. But 2 days a week I commit to, and I do the same thing. I'll go out and I'll try and look at things differently, or I try and listen for the birds that are singing. Sometimes I just listen to, my feet hitting the pavement, even. So, which obviously I would never hear when I was listening to music. So just try and go, and again, just try and see things differently than you normally would. So, all right, so we talked about that, the 10-minute walk. Um, and I talked about the boomerang effect, give your kindness away. Another thing is if you're having a bad day, this has worked for me all the time. If you're having a bad day, I will literally go out of my way and do something kind on, usually even more than just a few words. Like, I'll never forget, I got a speeding ticket. This is a few years ago, but I got a speeding ticket and I was so upset about it, really, really upset about it, that when I ended up going through the tolls, I stopped and I paid for the people behind me because I just had to break that energy that I was in. I had to change and just change my mood and change, my whole attitude. So you don't have to do something like that. Please don't get a speeding ticket. But just try and do something kind for somebody. Maybe bring cookies. And I'm not trying to put things on your to-do list, but just do something kind for people. And, another suggestion, I had mentioned how I think the economy is weighing on a lot of people this year. And I know personally in my area, the food pantries have been nonstop. So I'm actually committing to bringing food every week to the food pantries. Just what I can, but I know it'll help somebody. And again, that it shifts my energy, makes me feel good. So I'm sure there's something that you can do. But when you're having a bad day, even a bad hour, just think of something that you can do to get yourself out of that. And typically, if you can, be kind, be nice, that typically is one of the biggest things that would help you kind of shift your energy, if you would. And then from now until the end of the year, at least one thing every single day, write down something that you're grateful for that day. And it could be, I was able to go on that 10-minute walk. It could be that hot cup of coffee. It doesn't have to be an elaborate thing. But because if you start now and you do it, now till December 31st, you'll have about 45 things. And on December 31st, we can go back and reflect these things that we're grateful for. I just think it really helps us and sets us up for a great 2026. So that's just something simple too to do to get you in the right frame of mind. Oh, that's a long day, Daniel. And Daniel, I am looking forward to your live this week. I want to hear about how yesterday went. So, or maybe you're going to do a video about it. So I thought about you a lot yesterday. I really did. So I hope it went. Even if you didn't get anything, I hope it was still a good day for you. And then this sort of kind of goes hand in hand with writing down something that you're grateful for. But again, if you would take 10, 15 minutes or whatever, write yourself a letter today, if possible, or within the next day or so, and talk about how you want to feel going into 2026. Again, it's got to be more than just what you want to do or what you want to accomplish, because it's all about the feelings, right? What do you want to feel for 2026? Write yourself a letter, write your future self a letter. And again, I think it's something then in 45 days or so that we could look back on. And sometimes I think we forget, at least I know I forget, sometimes day to day, different things. So write yourself a letter. And again, not necessarily your goals that you want to accomplish, but how you want to feel in 2026. Do you want to feel secure? Do you want to feel safe? Do you want to feel abundant? What are some of the feelings you want for 2026? and and then just seal it and then put it somewhere safe, and we're gonna take a look at it on December 31st. And I'm doing it as well. I actually started it before this, but I will finish it up after this live. And I had opened up this live talking about how do we want to feel on December 31st, right? Again, I guess along the same lines as this future letter, a letter to your future self, because then I think we can reverse engineer it. And what do we need to do between now and then to actually have those feelings on December 31st? Again, we had talked about, maybe you want to feel proud because you stayed within budget, or maybe you want to feel just loving, right? I mean, my goodness, love is the number one frequency that would just increase, it's just the number one feeling above all else. If there was more love in this world, it certainly would be a different place. So, again, do you want to feel peaceful? And so what do we need to do between now and then? Does that mean saying no, maybe, to some things this holiday season? Maybe you don't make as many cookies. Maybe you don't go to as many parties. Just think about how you can make it maybe simpler, but still feeling good, right? And again, it's more about the presence of being there, being with the people you love. And just, so think about that. And let's kind of reverse engineer it between now and then to make sure that you meet yourself there. And stop and ask the you inside yourself. What do you want to feel? What do you want me to know? And just see what comes up. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Oh, that's great, Daniel. Huh? Oh. How old is your younger brother? That is so nice. Is he a lot younger than you? Thank you, Scott. Again, as I'm going through my live, I have 5 things going off in my head that I didn't do correctly here, but that's okay. Each one, if I can do each one a little bit better than the next. So, and I think it was Scott maybe who said it in the beginning of this live stream is we don't have to be perfect, right? And I think we need to remind ourselves, as I just said, being imperfect doesn't mean you failed at something. It just means you learned something, right? Next time I'm going to remember to plug in my DJI microphone instead of my laptop microphone. That's all. Certain things like that. And just remember, when you do allow yourself to be imperfect and not to always be right, I mean, think about it, right? It's almost like a sense of freedom, right? You're not beating yourself up. So, and saying to somebody, you're doing a great job, certainly makes me feel good. So thank you. 3 years younger. Oh, that's nice. I don't know very much about hunting, but I think you had said that you actually hunt on your property. So you're going to meet your brother to hunt. Will you hunt on his property, or is there actually like a gaming reservoir or something, reserve, that you go and hunt? I know nothing about hunting. You've actually taught me a lot, Daniel, over the last, I'll say, couple of months. Oh, thank you, Texas Gypsy. But I don't know your first name. If you don't mind, I'd love to know your first name. I'd also love to know Granny's name, but only if you're comfortable doing that. And okay, so we talked about the gratitude list. And here's something I guess I want to leave you with is, that you who's inside you, they've always been there. And I've said this in many videos that they will only speak in silence, in the stillness, right? They will not speak. They so want your attention, but they will not speak if it's loud and chaotic. They won't. We all have that gut knowing, right? I mean, I can guarantee every one of us, we see ourselves in the mirror, and as the years tick on, we look different. But there's a part of us that never changes, right? There's a part of us inside that you still sort of feel like it's different for different people, but maybe you feel like you're 21 or you're 30 or whatever it is. I don't think we ever feel like we're, 59 or however old you are. I know I still feel like I'm in my early 20s. That's the you inside. That is the you that will never get old. So just got to know that they've always been there, and you just need to tune into yourself. And it truly is your best friend. It truly will give you guidance and wisdom if you would only listen. But this might be a good video topic. There is a distinction between your ego talking to you and, your soul, the inner you talking to you. Your soul will never, ever put you down. Your soul will never yell at you. It just won't. You kind of know when it's the you inside, right? You have that gut knowing. At least I do. And I think a lot of people do if they stop and think about it. Okay, so your parents own 8 acres, Daniel, and that's about an hour away from you. Nice. Okay, Sunny. All right, great. So we got Sunny, Scott, Daniel, and Granny. Anybody else in CL? Granny's name has always been Granny. It says Granny on her birth certificate. I like it. That's okay. Um, yeah, the you inside will never leave you, and they know you better than anyone, right? So treat them with the kindness that you would treat your best friend. I did create, which I will put it in the description when this live goes public, if you would, when it gets published. I did create a December calendar for all of us, just kind of giving us tips on what we can do between now and the end of the year to make sure we're staying in tune with ourselves and making sure that we are treating ourselves as our best friend. And remember, it's not selfish to put yourself, I guess, to put yourself first in some instances, right? And I've talked about this. If you just keep taking from the well and you never fill it up, or you don't ever fill up your cup, there isn't going to be anything there for anybody else. So it's definitely not selfish. It's a necessity. It really is. So that you can be there, whether it's for your family or your other friends. So I think I touched all the topics that I wanted to talk about. So let's just open it up for questions, if anybody has any questions. See you, Sunny. I appreciate you joining. And hopefully I didn't mess up too bad with the mic. So hopefully this will come across okay. And I got a little inspiration from Escaping the Suburbs. He, at the end of every one of his lives, he typically reads something. And a friend of mine wrote a book It's called Statuary. And what it is the summer of 2020, he one day went out for a kayak ride for the sunrise, and he just jotted down a couple of things. Long story short, he did it every single day that summer. Whether he went out, most days he did go out in the kayak, which is what the cover is. So that's his kayak right here with the sunrise. Oh, looking at it backwards with the sun rising. He lives on a pretty big pond. So he did that the whole summer of 2020. And then he's like, oh, I might as well just finish the year out. But then he was like, you know what? He ended up finishing so that he had a thought. That's what a thoughtuary for every day of the year. So it sort of has become a reflection book. And he's a dear friend. We've been friends since college. So I thought what I would do is at the end of every live, at least through the end of the year while we're in this series, I would read the the entry from today's date, so November 16th. Okay, it's not too long. Oh, okay, it's a good one. So I haven't read any of these. I've read a couple that he's pointed out to me that he wanted me to read, but so I'm reading it for the first time with you folks. So hold the ones you love just a little longer. Life is fragile. You never know how long you have or where the road may lead. You never know what the next moment will bring or if there are brighter things on the horizon. You just never know. So all you can do is honor the moments you have with awareness of the joy or lesson they lead to, awareness of the ordinary, in quotes, ones that will someday feel special, and awareness of how you're using them wisely or letting them slip away. This is all this has all been said before in many ways. Anyone who's experienced significant loss might have written it, but I did, not only for the losses I've already suffered, but for the ones I know, for the ones I now see that are unavoidable, imminent, and already being processed. So I use these moments to write this, hoping this rendition of life's fragility would stir you to stop for a moment, see the people in your life, and appreciate what is. So please, cherish your moments, make a habit of holding the ones you love just a little longer, and slow down to appreciate the moment. That is now. Ask yourself this: what would I do differently today if I truly believed each moment was precious? So that was November 16th. So shout out to Escaping the Suburbs for the inspiration. And again, it's a great book. Well, I think it's a great book. It's a great book because it comes from a dear friend. But anyways, you can get it on Amazon if you're interested. So that's it. That's, yes, story time. So you inspired me, Scott. Any questions? Any suggestions? Any inspiration? Any words of wisdom? To leave people with? Because I actually get, I won't say quite a few views after the fact, but I would say about a third of my, I don't know if they're my subscribers, to be honest, but I get a good number of people watching my lives after the fact. So if there's any words of wisdom, let's share it. Oh, you're welcome, CL. I'm so happy you folks were able to make it. I so appreciate it very much. So, but if there's no questions, this comes from my corporate days. I can't keep people on if there's nothing else to share. Our time is too precious. So, if nothing else, then I will close out the live. I appreciate all of you. Um, Next week, we will be talking about, I did write it down. We're going to talk about the December reset, before it starts. And I actually have a prompt that I want to talk about next week about how, if you're ever stuck with gift ideas or whatever for people in your life, I have a great prompt for that. So, to use with your AI. Oh, I'm so happy she got to join Mrs. Escaping the Suburbs. So, welcome. Loved having you here. All right, folks. Well, I hope you guys have a good rest of your Sunday night, and go feed your kitty. Is it dinner time for kitty yet? And Daniel, looking forward to your next video there to hear about how yesterday went. All right, folks. Have a good night. Love you guys. And I'll see you throughout the week.